So, ex-NFL coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL for discriminatory practices. Let me say this: when you have a league or an organization, or a democracy or diplomacy, it's very seldom you're going to find that there's rules in place to put the people in power out of power. So going to the courts to try to unseat the people who put these courts into place is going to be a difficult task, to say the least. But back to this guy. He was fired and was applying for another position, but because of the Rooney Rule in NFL, all 32 teams have to at least interview one black candidate for the job. That's all you got to do is interview them. You ain't got to give them to them. Just interview. That right there is a red flag. I remember years ago, Dennis Green for the Minnesota Vikings. He was let go, and they asked him. This was when the rule first got in place. They asked him, was he going to go interview for other people? He said, no, I'm not going to take part in this BS. And at the time, I wasn't even really aware of the social ramifications. But now I really admire Dennis Green for his strength, his tenacity, and may he rest in power. The thing is, white people always talk to you about equality and opportunity, but they will never speak on advantage. Who has the advantage in these situations? You have a black coach and a white coach going to apply for the same position. Who got the advantage? Whites do, because they're in charge of the hiring and firing practices of whatever company business you want to go to. The fact that, well, one of the things is now he has to prove his case against the NFL. So, which means he can accuse the NFL of doing whatever to discriminate against him, but it's up to him to prove what the NFL is doing. That made me, when I heard that, that made me think about an episode of Star Trek. There was this moon circling this planet, and it had fell out of orbit, and it was coming closer and closer to the surface, and it was causing all types of weather pattern disruptions, um, tsunamis, earthquakes, and the people feared for their existence. So Q just so happened to be on the ship at this time. He told Geordi, even though he was without his power on this episode, all you have to do is change the gravitational constants of the universe, and then you can push the moon back into orbit. And Geordi looked at him and was like, do what? And he said, just change the gravitational constant of the universe. And Geordi like, you mean change the laws of gravity? And he just walked off. The fact of the matter is, there is a legal constant in this country. But what if you were able to change that to suit your purpose? What if you was able to change the legal constant of this country to the fact that, to the point where the accused have to disprove the plaintiff case? You bring allegations against a person, group, or organization, and if they can disprove your claim, then the person who brought these allegations um, will be punished. Wouldn't that be a better legal system than what we have right now? Because see, as it's set up right now, Brian Flores is going to have well, really he shouldn't, because normally you have a hard time proving, because nobody's going to bring in the evidence to prove your case. You're going to have to find it. But in this particular case, he did. Um, Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, he texts Brian Flores congratulating him on the job that he was going to be hired for. And Brian Flores responded, what are you talking about? I don't interview for this position until Thursday. What are you saying? He said, wait a minute, are you trying to are you calling Brian Flores, or are you trying to call Brian Gable? Bill Belichick in response said, oh, I just effed up. My bad. I think they're going with Gable. That's all the evidence that Brian Flores needs right there to prove his case. That's all he needs. That shows that the owners of this NFL team had already decided to hire a white coach even before they interviewed with the black coach. How did Bill Belichick find out about the decision that was being made in the hiring practices before the procedure was even finished? You already got the text message from Belichick saying he already knew that Brian Gable got the job. So this also shows that all these coaches communicate with each other. All of them, all 32 of them. But within the 32, there's that good old white boy network. And they're telling their white counterparts things that they're not telling everybody else. That text message proves this. That text message proved that. All he got to do now is just take this to court and ask the NFL, ask the owners, how did Bill Belichick get this information? Why was it relayed to him? And why wasn't it dispersed to everybody else if you felt that this decision was already made? Why even go through with this sham of an interview if you already had made the... I mean, can you imagine how embarrassing that is? You getting ready for an interview and you get word that 2 days ago they didn't already hired somebody else, and now by the time Bill Belichick get the information, he's sending it to congratulate his counterpart, but sends the text to the wrong person. While you sitting there getting all dressed up, ready to go, nah, you ain't got no place to go. It's not about just Brian Flores. When this Rooney Rule came into place, you had a couple of black head coaches. Now you only got one. So we see that this rule that they put in place has done nothing to balance the field, because people in power are not going to imply rules and regulations that reduce their power. It's just as simple as that. Whenever you have a league that's like 70% black and you only got one black head coach, that's a problem. Whenever you have a situation where blacks make up only 14% of the population but receive 80% of the debilitating effects, that's a problem. And it all starts by you spending, I'm talking about black people, you spending $1.3 trillion in this country, and it goes up every year. But you won't spend a dime to build your own businesses and industries. If you spent a handful of millions of dollars, even if $1 billion, to capture the $1.3 trillion that you already spending on your necessities, How can you look at that as a bad investment? But here you are pushing all your coins to the center of the table, and you ain't got a card to play with. How do you win doing this? This is I don't even know how to even conclude this thought, because it's so ridiculous to sit up here and try to continue to argue with black people. The only reason why they're doing this to you is because you have no alternative. You won't even do for you. So how can you expect white people, of all people, to do for you what you won't even do for yourself? If they hire you at a lower percentage rate than anybody else, they're doing something. You won't even do that. If they building businesses where they pay you lower wages, you won't even do that. What have you done? What leader have you followed? What leader talks about doing something for yourself to set a new standard, a new perspective over your people? Now, even though Brian Flores got all the information that he needs from that text message, he's going to lose this case. He's going to lose it. Because we created no alternative, no legal standard. Can you imagine if you forced the defendant to prove his case? If you were married and your wife or girlfriend accused you of cheating and you wasn't cheating, with the relationship that you are in, would it be worth you proving your point? Should she just say, it wasn't me, and accept that? Couldn't you prove you were somewhere else as opposed to what she thought you were? If your livelihood depended on it, and somebody accused you of a crime that you knew you did not commit, are you going to sit there in court with your mouth shut, waiting for this person to prove your case? Or are you going to just say, no, we can put an end to this stuff right now and bring your own evidence and prove your case? Imagine how much better society would be if we could do that. There's one NFL coach in the league right now. This Rooney Rule has done nothing to change it. And as soon as they get Tom Coughlin out of Pittsburgh, I don't know when they're going to have another NFL coach. And you black people would just sit back and still bang on these people's door to create opportunities for you that you can create for yourself. This is not going to stop until we come together as a people, build businesses and industries around our essential needs, and then you will see a change. Until then, we're going to continue to get the same.